next topic was tips for structuring real estate deals, including selling, buying, and leasing. And this is a chart that you see in your handout, which I wish every tenant in the country had, because no one knows what triple net means. Modified gross, full service gross, double net, absolute net. On the left side, you'll see triple net, modified gross, full service gross. Triple net is more common in industrial and retail properties. Modified gross is more common in industrial and office properties. And full service gross is more common in office properties. You'll see an X in each box showing what that lease rate will normally include. So if you have a full service gross lease, it's going to include taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, typically janitorial. Everything's factored in. That lease rate's always going to look more expensive. It's going to be much higher because it includes everything. It includes all of your CAM expenses generally. So that was a helpful chart. The key, though, is that you want to always know what your net rental rate is. That will come into play as the presentation progresses, because if your company is trying to compare apples to apples, different spaces across the country, for example, if you're trying to calculate the return on your investment, you always need to know what your base rental rate is. So even if you're a full-service gross office tenant, you still want to ask, well, what are our expenses? Back those out and know your net rental rate. The lease rate, as we said, helps clarify what you are responsible for. A tip that I wanted to suggest is that in full-service gross and modified gross leases, you want to have some sort of cap. That would protect you. As a broker, I'm speaking on behalf of the buyer or on behalf of the tenant. You don't know how inflation is going to occur over the next couple of years. Costs of everything go up. And as those costs go up, typically landlords will pass those costs on to the tenant depending on what type of lease rate you have. So now you have the chart showing what's included. You're going to pay more for those costs. So what you can do to protect yourself is to factor in what's called an expense stop. So the CAM charges can't increase by more than 5% a year, for example. You also want to make sure your base rent has a controlled escalator. A lot of landlords right now are preferring CPI increases. As we all know, there's going to be inflation over the next couple of years. So as a facility manager, business owner, you want to be able to project your cash flow requirements over the long term. So a typical annual escalator, for example, in today's market is 2 to 3% every year versus like a CPI increase, which will be an unknown as time progresses.